You're watching Experience Comic Culture and Sales, streaming live daily to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter.
2, 1.
It makes me so happy to see you guys all popping in the comments before we even show our ugly mugs. Thank you, man. Like, you make me all happy. Thank you. We're here to review the books and stuff. 1, 2, 3, 4. Sorry, I was sex bob-oning it.
Hey, you like my shirt?
Oh, what you got? I tried to find mine yesterday for my interview, and all I could find was my Twisted shirt. So.
All the shirts I have of that guy make fun of him, and I had him custom made. So,
oh man, so many good things this week, Preston. Wait till you see.
Yes. So we'll go ahead and get started as soon as I remember that. Nope. Here's the thing.
And the
3 over, 4 over.
Ah, okay. There we go.
Oh, it's me. Yay. Okay, so this was previously printed and released as a kind of like a scholastic size book for the kiddos. But I really love this one. If you're trying to get your kids, I think this would be actually even perfect for like middle grade to junior high. This one is awesome because it's Jeffrey being really smart about understanding that kids have awkward lives, really awkward lives. And so this is really Batman's son, Damian, going to school. He's like having a hard time fitting in, obviously, because, everybody knows that his dad is Bruce Wayne. They don't know anything about the Batman thing. But he gets moved from a school to another school. And this other kid here you see kind of walking next to him, his name's Howard. And he just really is a really great kid. So he's like, that kid that always, messes up the grading curve because he's already pre-read all of the, summer reading. And he's the kid that will if you have you picked up your veggie burger and it's not warm. And he's like, oh, you picked it from the left side of the line, didn't you? Here, I'll just trade with you. It's no big deal. So he just seems to be like the nicest guy. But you get to kind of see for both of these kids what their internal dialogue is. Where they kind of they don't really know what to think of each other 100%. You're like, is this kid for real? So it is just a cool slice of life as they try to negotiate school and making friends for the first time. It's pretty adorable. And it's nice and long. So this is originally done, as I said, like a graphic novel sized book. And this one, they broke it up, I think, into 4 parts. So this is the beginning of it. So highly entertaining for me. I am definitely not a kid, but I think I know who it's aimed for. So if you've got someone in your life you want to introduce to comic books, this has got pretty easy to understand language. So it's not going to be for, if you're got a brand new reader, there's not a lot of giant words in it. So you might introduce them with this. Oh, now this was my surprise this week. I know that all the Star Trek books that I've read, because I read the Day of Blood storyline that they put through recently, and I know that I like the Star Trek books, but I'm always surprised that I like them as much as I do. If that makes any sense at all, because I know I like the shows. I'm always impressed by writing for Star Trek. This one is amazing. So this one looks at the son of Worf, who I guess he rebelled in some way and killed a bunch of people, Worf. And so his son is now kind of, no one trusts him. And I guess that stuff happens in a different storyline. But it also is Cisco's son, and oh gosh, I forgot his name. Is that Neelix? Neelix's son, maybe. So they're all kind of like Neelix's son has been off to Starfleet, and Cisco's son is kind of like trying to find out what he wants to do. He wants to be a writer, and he just feels like internally that he feels like maybe his dad's not really proud of him, even though his dad says all the right words when they're having a talk about it. So this is like one of those books that's going to give you some feels. I apologize. You're going to have to feel some things about Star Trek characters. But as you can see on the front there, someone shows up to like mess up their lives. And that might be a clue for people that actually, watch Star Trek stuff. Highly recommend it. This is the beginning of the storyline. You don't really need to know anything about any character because if you've been away from Star Trek for a while, they give you enough background so you understand it. Really like it. If you haven't tried Star Trek in a while, it's a great place to jump on and try a Star Trek title from IDW. Recommend.
Quite an interesting character up there in the front. Quite.
Yes. Quite.
Oh, I'm sad.
Because this is the end?
This is it. This is the final issue. I have read every issue for this show. The series has been great, and I am so glad I took a chance to read it. The Zawas in the mountains, they're angry, and they're ready to wipe out humans. But through the universal language of love and food, and a humongous food fight, literal food fight, our Zawa that we meet in the series kind of comes to her senses and decides she's gonna protect everyone. She's gonna fix this. There's a part in here where she's injured, and when I say injured, she's missing an arm and half her face.
Oh, gosh.
My first thought was, I thought this was a kid's book, but maybe kids' books can be a little brutal. Man, it's a fantastic story. If you want to find out what happens, you're just gonna have to pick this up. I never thought that I would get so invested in a story that was made for kids, but man, it's a beautiful, beautiful finish to a fun story. I'm sad it's over, but I'm also glad it didn't overstay its welcome. Don't sleep on the boombox stuff. I almost did, and I would have missed out on a great story. I highly recommend this one.
Okay. So do you guys know, like, Pygmalion, My Fair Lady? Or I'm trying to think of a more modern retelling that's more apt. The Princess Diaries. This is a girl who has no refinement. Her and her father are out west around the turn of the century, Wild West era. Maybe as late as the 20s. But they are the descendants of a very rich writer. And the father dies in a tragic accident, and I'm going to go with nanny, but that's not the word they use. Governess? Okay. What was Mary Poppins?
I think that's right.
Anyway, shows up to bring her home to her grandfather's house. This girl is 16, so she probably doesn't really need one, but whatever. But she has a pretty substantial alcohol problem. And she's kind of a wild person. And she gets home and like a pattern develops of habitual binge drinking and then having nightmares and winding up basically sleeping with this governess woman like to keep her safe. And everybody thinks it's in her head until the end of the book when you realize it's very much less in her head and that her family is maybe not wealthy because the grandfather was a great writer because of something else, and it's a little supernatural and magic-y. It's written by Tom King. Art by Bilquis is great as well. Um, Overall, an interesting book. I'm gonna withhold judgment on good or bad because it had some really what I would call for Tom King disappointing dialogue. Right, like I know Tom King can write great dialogue. And this had some disappointing moments, but it could just be that it's this girl and this lady can't communicate. Like, and so the dialogue is disappointing intentionally. So I'm gonna wait and see what happens on that. But overall, pretty interesting concept.
Okay. I think I saw someone actually make a comment like, who was asking for Dylan Dog?
That was me.
We ended up with this. Well, I will tell you that you actually love this book, honestly, if you like Batman and all. And Joker.
Oh, I need Dylan Dog to have his own book, not with Batman.
Oh, okay, I got you. Well, it honestly, there is Batman in this book, but it's mostly about Dylan.
Well, I just don't need a 67th Batman title.
Oh, I got you. This one, okay, the first thing I want to say about this one is I think the cover price there is what, $4.99? But it's like, it might be 100 pages. It's a really thick book. It has a really cool art style that I really enjoyed. And it is kind of a tale where Dylan is interacting with and Joker, or Dylan are interacting with a bad guy that has been part of his story before, and I forgot his name. It's Dr. something. But he's created some kind of, I don't know, it looks like a shot that he's trying to do, and it has a like almost like creates maybe zombie-ish kind of people. And a Joker gets a hold of it. You can kind of see what he decides to create with it. It's up there on the cover. But I really like it because at some point you can see Dylan gets captured by the Doctor, and what he asks to do is pretty hilarious. I'll let you experience that wonderfulness. But yeah, it's really good, long tail. I'd never had any exposure to Dylan Dog before, so I was like, I don't know, I'm going into this with no knowledge, and that was fine. I feel like he's definitely, a good foil for Bruce Wayne, because he seems to have all the swag of Bruce, but none of the monies. And I really like his Alfred, who is Groucho Marx. I know what you're thinking right now. What? His Alfred is Groucho Marx? But just read it. Because I'm not lying to you. It's
Preston,
true.
the answer would be like the 35 of us who know who Dylan Dog is.
No, this is a real character. Oh, and this is me too. This one is really cool. So if you don't know, Black Widow sometime recently has gotten a hold of the Venom symbiote, or part of the Venom symbiote. So she's been running around as, she's got the ability to do a great many things, including she uses the symbiote to form like little Black Widow, like almost like larger than nanites, I guess. So she's using it at the very beginning of this book. And it's so cool how they, storytelling. I love it when they do kind of weird backwards telling storyline. So that's kind of what this does. It has some events that happen and then it goes back. And so it keeps on moving back and back, and then it gets caught up, and then it skips around a little bit more. It's really neat how it talks about her interaction with Hawkeye. It's it gets you a little bit more of their back history together. And I really like her with this new ability. I don't know. It's very cool. It's almost like it allows her to almost read people's minds, which is kind of interesting. It's very helpful, though, if you're a spy. So this is different. If you're not a Black Widow fan or a Venom fan or a Hawkeye fan, maybe skip it, but I like this one. I wanted to read this so badly.
Right, so did I. So everybody in the comments, I need you to boo Jay.
Right, no, here's my thing. T-Bose.
Boo.
And guess what, y'all? I deserve it.
Boo.
I deserve it.
Did you like on purpose claim on Monday at 8 a.m. or something so you could have it?
As soon as Dan was like, books are uploaded, I was like, going to check it right now.
And he knows that when Dan uploads the books, Dan and I are usually recording the news, so I can't.
Yeah.
You guys have no idea how much we compete over what we get to read. I get to box out on Marvel and DC because I have the physical books, but everything else, all the good indies, I'm like, I know I'm not getting that because they're going to claim it.
Yes, this one, man. You know how I was just talking about Boombox and how it's for kids? Maybe I meant young teens because this book is wild. It is. So this is a story of a little girl who loves a death game called Screaming Paintball, which is usually what I call most sports.
Screaming Paintball?
Yeah. And it's top player named Skull Crusher. That's the top player. Okay. She grows up. She's still obsessed with this team, this player, and she laments to the skulls of her dead parents. She's talking to these skulls of her folks. Okay, so already this book is going to be crazy. She doesn't think she's ever going to be able to play this game whose objective is to put the ball in the goal and just massacre anybody in your way. It's a team sport. So the story is basically Trini, who's on the cover. She hears about this tournament, and the winner of the tournament gets to be not only on a team of Screaming Paintball, but on Skull Crusher's team. So, yeah. I'm gonna leave it there, y'all. This book was a ton of fun. It's wild. There's no blood or gore so far, but the whole concept of a game where you kill people to score a goal for your team kind of sounds awesome to me. This is like for a dystopian Mad Max style book. It honestly looks like it's going to be a ton of fun. I'm down for the next issue. Hey, Preston.
It's like playing pyramid ball against Kareth Race.
Yeah.
I was thinking, so it's like anytime I play highlight or lacrosse or softball or really any sport.
That's a little bit of what it reminds me of because it's a big ball about the size of a basketball, but it's a net, like a hockey net.
Oh, okay.
So I'm down for the next issue. If this sounds cool to you, go to where you get your comics from and check this one out. This was a ton of fun. You guys should read this when y'all get a chance. Download it and read it. Read it at the store, whatever. It's really good.
Is the art style like the cover?
Yes.
Okay.
It's colorful and it's a gorgeous book.
What was that, Kyle?
Boo this man.
I'll take the boo. I deserve it. Trust me.
Too late. He's wily.
See, because I had to read this.
But it's John Carpenter.
Yeah. Even John Carpenter can't help this book. I hate to say that because I love John Carpenter and Sandy King. If you hear this, I'm sorry, but take his name off of it because it's hurting his image. This book doesn't know what the hell it's doing. It starts off, it's like a scientist doing science things, and then there's an explosion, and all of a sudden it's the creatures from Zendikar in Magic the Gathering. There's no explanation of what they are. There's no explanation of what they're doing. They don't even show you them attacking anyone. Just this scientist knows that he has to get in his car and run away. But then he drives right into the freaking zombie apocalypse because apparently one mythos of bad guys isn't enough. And then, like, he drags a whole bunch of other people into it with him. So now he's got the Zendikar bad guys and the Zendikar bad guys and the zombie apocalypse, and like the dialogue is kind of all over. Again, is a kind of all over the place. Like, show me why you're scared of these big things and why it's forced you into the zombie apocalypse. Otherwise, I don't care if you get eaten by zombies. Like, this book has all of the potential in the world and just doesn't capitalize on any of it. That said,
I knew there was going to be a that said. Go.
the colors are nice.
Colors are nice. Does it leave you with an end that makes you think, oh, maybe they're going to tell me more next time?
Oh, I'm sure they are, but I won't be reading it.
Okay.
This book did absolutely nothing in the first issue to make me give a crap about the second. I hate to be that guy today, but it's what it is.
Keep in mind that Kyle hated Avengers Endgame. Okay.
Yeah, if you're going to do 50% of the homework, you're going to get a 50% grade.
Okay. Ultimate Black Panther. Woohoo! I'm going to be upfront. I did not get to read the number 1 because we sold out, before we actually got the book. So I was excited to get to jump into the universe. Let's see. So how to explain? You guys all know that the Ultimate Universe is been manipulated by the Maker, who's back there. You can't see him at the top of the image, and has denied all of the superheroes the things that make them into superheroes. And the Black Panther, in this case, is just a normal protector king of his peoples. He is married to, I think it's a Okoye in here. And so the Maker is basically be able to control everything except for Wakanda. So this is their big push to try to get to him. And the way that they do it really is kind of creative. So he, despite warnings from his wife, goes and talks to what are essentially oracles, which tell him that he's going to see a vision or see a woman that he's going to that he's going to create a child with. And that's all they really tell him. And so he's got this on his mind as he goes through the rest of this book. And I'm pretty sure that that is a baloney and it's going to tear everything apart. So this one is great. The art is just like it is on the cover. And I'm excited to see how this fits into the bigger universe. Oh, goodness. Something just dropped stuff. That's it.
All right. We already know how I feel about Hack Slash, but this is 418 pages of Hack Slash action that I had to stop myself from reading the whole thing because I just didn't have time. It's bloody, it's violent, it's hilarious, and since I haven't read it in a bit, it reintroduced me to some characters that I love, like a character named Pooch, which is a talking demon dog.
You say Pooch?
Pooch.
Okay.
His name is Pooch. He's a talking demon dog who sometimes refers to Cassie as formerly hated Cassandra Hack. I love this demon dog. I love him. This is just an awesome collection of story arcs, and they have different art styles for each arc. And there's even a Hack Slash, and I hope I say this name right, Phantoma, Mystery Woman of the Jungle crossover. This is one of the things that Hack Slash really shines at, is crossing over with horror characters and sometimes even real characters. There's a volume that they go to a con in, and I believe that it's a bunch of comic book creators there, like Scotty Young and people like that. So that's one of the coolest things about Hack Slash is all the crossovers. But again, yeah, it's like 418 pages, Eddie. Again, I can't push this series enough. For horror fans, I'm going to be going back and rereading this just because I love it so much. It's one of those books that even if you were just like that much into horror, that much, this is one that I'm like, you got to read this. This is a horror series to get people into horror. This is a horror series for people who are already into horror. I love this series so much. This is volume 4. Oh, it's so good. If you've never read this, you should give this a shot.
Ooh, that cover looks cool.
It is cool. That is not the cover that was on the book I read. So I'm going to stare at it for a second. This is the road to run 150 has become a thing that is the only reason I've not sort of just bought my turtles and not read them. I know they're building to something, and I'm willing to take the ride. I'm going to say this before I go into my review. If you haven't read Turtles in a while, don't buy this comic. It will make absolutely no bleeding sense at all. I believe that every comic should be able to be somebody's first, except for this one can't.
If I read City at War, would I be okay?
No.
Oh. Okay.
If you haven't read since 144 or 145, this is going to make no sense.
Okay. So the last few I need to pick up. Okay.
Right. So literally what I'm saying is this is not your first book, but literally the next one is. So like 1 month from now.
Okay.
In this book, the Gibbon character, whose name I can't remember because it's been that kind of day, that has been sort of messing with the turtles for the last 4 issues or so, comes in and you really get to see the brutality of their powers. In that they are, for some characters, reversing the effect of the mutant bomb. And it's a really traumatic experience. And, the team that exists at this point in the Turtles kind of goes after them and is unsuccessful. So I imagine that will play a role in 150. But it really does. This really is kind of literally a, here we go. We're going to serve up the next issue to you on a silver platter issue. I'll be honest. If they took this one out of canon entirely, I don't think it would affect the story. You could jump 148 to 150 and be good.
Except for 150 is listed as being the last issue.
Huh?
150 is listed as being the last issue.
Right. But I'm just saying that this is one of those, like, we want 150 to come out in April, so we need a March book kind of deal. It's a fun story, but it doesn't move anything forward. It doesn't help at all. It doesn't really teach you anything or tell you anything. Again, it's just this kind of understanding how powerful the big bad is right now. So.
Okay, so Symbiote Spider-Man 2099 does have your characters that you've been introduced to before, which is Venom 2099. You've got, of course, Miguel. And I will just have to say that for the first time in a while for reading Mark Waid work, I feel like, I don't know. Oh, wait, sorry. Peter David. Lost my brain. Peter David work. I don't know that. Maybe I just am not familiar enough with the characters because there were so many red and black characters introduced and moved through the storyline that I got a little bit lost for who has the symbiote on them right now. So I don't know if Symbiote Spider-Man 2099 is Miguel with the Venom symbiote on him, which I think is what happened. And so the story is fine. I just got lost in the who's got the symbiote now. So anyway, this is the beginning of another short story arc. I think it's a 5-issue series. The last, the Miguel O'Hara Spider-Man 2099 little series sold really well. Like, we've sold through everything, so it might help if you read that series. I think it's built on itself, and I think I only got to read the number 1 for that one. So it's great if you like Red and Black. Yeah. Oh my.
So I wrote in my notes, literally the first line is, I wrote in my notes, see / review. Take out the horror element, and it's basically the same review. This is another series that I love so much because it's so over the top ridiculous. This one, Gert dresses up like a goat. They get eaten by the troll under the bridge because the 3 Billy Goats Gruff hired her to murk him. That's the story. And I know on this review show we're not supposed to actually give the story away, but it's so simple and not the point about this book. The book is the over the top ridiculous violence. That's what this book is. This is one of those things that I will read every single time. I don't care if there's something new out there. If there's an I Hate Fairyland book, I'm gonna grab it. And it's gonna be the same thing over and over. All I'm gonna do is try to push people into getting this or / anytime they're on the list. Like, if I haven't convinced you out there to read either one of these stories by now, I'm never gonna convince you. There's nothing I'm ever gonna be able to say to you that's gonna make you want to get these books. I'm not the best reviewer. I've said that in the past. But if you can see how passionate I am about these books, and you're like, you know what? I've never read this before, but Jay is so amped on these, let me go check them out. Then my work, what I'm trying to do here and help with the show that Kyle and Miss Jen keep letting me come on, it's worth it. So do yourself a favor. Check this book out. I love this series. This is one of my favorite Scotty Young series that he's ever done. So.
Oh, yeah.
All right. This message is for Rick Remender. If you're not Rick Remender, just keep scrolling. What the hell, dude? That's my review. I do not understand this book. There is so much happening, and it's so fast-paced that I'm not sure that rereading it is even going to help me. I think I'm going to have to reread it 3 or 4 times to fully understand what this book is. This feels like Rick Remender doing his Matt Fraction impression. It's a super high level dystopian sci-fi book. If you think of Ready Player One kind of world, but also with magic and not video games. The 2 characters on the cover are your main characters, but they're not like exclusively your main characters. There's also some other characters that I feel like are going to be hugely important, whose names you never learn and who you barely ever see. But the few seconds you see of them, it's like, oh, holy crap. Wow, that's a game changer of a character. But then, like, these guys may be immortal. Like I said, there's a lot happening, and I don't understand. And so, Rick, if you just would go back to writing Westerns with serial killers and stuff, that would be helpful because my brain can't. It just can't. Buy this book, read it for yourself because this is a real good one, but like I just can't.
Oh crap. This was heck of good. Okay. So you guys might have heard a lot of buzz about this book already, and don't spoil it for people, okay? This is me making face at you. Stop it, the internets. You're making it hard for people to enjoy things. So in this book, the is it Morpheus that owns the penance stare stuff? He decides to take it away from Johnny Blaze, and he wants to find a new suitable host. So this one is a really cool travel where he just kind of like gives it to everybody that has any kind of reason to be angry. And as it travels through, like there's the one person that gets it that I'm like, when I hope they go back and actually address, like have her get to keep it and address, because it's like this mom who's working like 20,000 jobs. She's at home and her kids got colic and she's just trying to make it through the day and hasn't had food. And her, ex-mother or mother-in-law, her husband's died. Her mother-in-law shows up and wants to take the kids and has planted drugs on her. And I don't know. It's all this stuff. So anyway, it's all a bunch of heart-wrenching awesomeness. And then you get to the end and it finally, like, I don't know if it exclusively enters this person, but it is just killer. And you could, if you really want to spoil yourself, I'm sure it's out there on the internet, but try not to. But it is the coolest looking creature. I am so excited. It's like sometimes you think, oh, great, we're just going to have another Ghost Rider, because that seems to happen. But this one feels like it's going somewhere. It made me very happy. And I don't even really like Ghost Rider. Are those guys sleeping? Oh, the other guys? No.
Listening intently.
They're waiting their turn.
Listening intently.
I was totally looking up the next book that I have to review to remind myself of what one it was.
I didn't. I knew what I saved for last.
Oh my goodness. Thundercats. Oh,
yes. Snarf. This is another banger of an issue.
Pinky from Pinky in the Brain.
Snarf. This was another banger of an issue, y'all. And it has a first appearance. I think most people know the first appearance, but just in case you haven't heard, I'm not going to tell you. There's a first appearance.
Snarf?
I wish. No.
All right, I'm sending Declan another email.
Way sexier.
So, to me, this has the potential to be the biggest book Dynamite has ever put out. It really does. I know that's a bold claim, seeing that the catalog of Dynamite is vast, but it really is. Declan Shelvey has taken what could have been a rehash of the original or a continuation of the story, and that still would have been great, don't get me wrong, but they've crafted a new origin that isn't tropey and is so much more than just humanoid cats in space with low-hanging fruit names and awesome weapons. I have not read, this is kind of a tangent here, but I have not read any of the Energon universe yet.
Okay.
But I just have to say, what a time to be a comics fan.
I know, right?
With these great things coming out. Like, yeah, the 80s are making a comeback, but it's not just a nostalgia trap. There's substance to these books. At least the Thundercats, because like I said, I can't speak on the Energon stuff. But I promise you, in my own mind, that 30 years from now, this book is going to be one of those, man, that book is expensive now. I should have gotten that 30 years ago. And I honestly can't wait for Nick to show up on the art show with some art pieces from this. I'm really looking forward to that. Like all I can tell you is if you're on the fence with this one, for me, the last page alone made it worth it just a little. little cliffhanger tease on the last page, and just issue 3 can't get here soon enough. This isn't nostalgia bait, y'all. This is a really good story, and this was my favorite book this week. And that's saying a lot with I Hate Fairyland and Hack Slash being in there. This was my favorite book this week.
And by the way, be following me for my Thursday shows. What's in the box? Because I have hurling toward me right now all 130 covers for Thundercats #1, and I'm going to do a show that is only Thundercats. We know what's in that box.
That's going to be awesome. All right. Here we go.
I'm going to dibs 2 of them, Miss Jen.
Dibs, okay. As long as one of them isn't the logo one, because I have someone else that's like super like, woo about it.
No, I just want one of the blanks.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to have Drew draw me on my own cover. Anyway, the cabinet. I read issue 1. If you don't remember issue 1, it's the one with the cabinet named Cabby. That helps you to teleport through time. But when you use it, if you do it wrong, like it summons demons and monsters and destroys things. And there are these weird like Knights Templar type guys who are trying to track it down and take it for themselves. And this young girl is responsible for its care. Is this sounding familiar to anyone? No?
Do
Oh, wow. Let's go back and read it.
Yeah, because it was it didn't for the first 2 pages for me. I didn't remember having read it. I knew I had read it, but I didn't remember the story. And then I see the cabinet, and it's it all came kind of flashing back. It kind of looks like a reliquary cabinet, that you might find in a church.
Oh yeah,
But
I
it's
do
got,
remember this. Yes.
Little individual little drawers
It
that
was
stuff
laying on
goes
its side, and they were standing in the foreground. I remember
Mhm.
this.
Yeah. So this is that. And this issue, you kind of find out a little bit more about other people, not our main character, the girl who's in charge of Cabby. You instead find out about the weird Knights Templar priest guys who are trying to get the cabinet. And as it turns out, other people who know about the cabinet's existence.
Oh.
Yeah, this is getting a little Warehouse 13, and I kind of dig it.
I smell fudge.
Yeah. So, like, this character on the cover, like, she's somehow involved, but you don't know exactly what her role is. It kind of feels like maybe this girl's family, who was tragically killed in the first issue, are hired by an organization to keep track of Cabby, and this woman seems to maybe run that organization, and she is diametrically opposed to the guy who runs like this the order of weird dudes in hoods that are in charge of tracking it down. The other thing that I think is really great in this is you meet the Mandalorian, essentially. You remember the guy in the Da Vinci Code who wore the weird spiky belt thing, the albino.
Mm-hmm.
You meet that guy, except instead of being an albino with a weird spiky belt, he has a bubblegum fixation, which is kind of awesome. Like, everybody looks the same except for this one guy who always has a big pink bubble right where his mouth should be. What I liked about this book and why I think this book is really working for me is it has these moments where it's super serious.
Triple B.
It has these moments where it's super serious, and then all of a sudden it's bubblegum priest guy going like this and doing that thing that kids do where they pull the gum out of their mouth and put it back, like doing that, and it's the girl and her helper arguing about whether or not they should get pickles, like just dumb things like that. And pickles aren't a thing, but similar to that, like, should we salt things? Should we do other, what can we do to throw people off? And like these funny little debates, which are super fun. And then you get this organization almost like S.H.I.E.L.D., stepping in that is super interesting as well. So, like I said, it has moments of seriousness and then pure comedy. So, it's it's been pretty fun.
Oh my gosh.
Someone asked me last night if I've been reading this book, and my response to them was, I won't read anything with Twilight in the title. Thank you, Stephanie Meyer.
Oh my gosh, you're missing out. So every single issue I read of this, I feel more and more strongly that it's like going to stand the test of time, having the same importance as Kingdom Come. You just like mock my words. It's like everyone else that reads it obviously is feeling the same way because it's selling out. We're selling more and more of every single issue that comes out. So we keep on adding people to it, which is unheard of in comic books, by the way. It is essentially all you need to know is that imagine if we went farther along in time with all the main characters that you would have from Avengers, and they're just dealing with, they've all gotten older. Like Steve has given up his super serum, and so he's gotten older. Luke Cage has been the mayor of the city and is now retired. And they really have found themselves at odds with they're like no one, they don't have that like superhero status that they once had where everybody loved them and thought they were the best and thought they were like, thank you for saving all of us. They just have found that they're at odds with the government and everybody. Like Steve runs for office and doesn't get elected. It just doesn't make any sense to me that way. But that happens all in the first issue. So now we've moved along, and the big conflict here is that you have Jarvis, who is hanging out with Tony's son, who is named, he names him after his best friend, James. So he names him after Rhodey. So his name is James, and it's very clear that he is the big bad as part of this. But there's a big twist that happens in this, that Jarvis is not what they seem at all. At all. And it seems very bleak when you find out how much is messed up about the world the way it is right now for them and then for all the heroes. So you get to see some cool Thor action in this one. I don't think he's been around before in the storyline. He's awesome. There's some cool lines that might be quoted for a while from this one. If you can get any print, sincerely, of this book series, or if you can borrow a friend's copy to read carefully, I don't know. Figure out a way to read this, and you will thank me. I promise. This is like one of those books that if I had any to put on the rack, I would be putting like, you can have 200% of your money back if you don't like the series, because there's no way you won't like it if you like, Marvel at all. That's all of them?
Yep.
Awesome.
All right. Well, as always, it's super important here on The Experience that you visit your local comic shop. If you don't know where your local comic shop is, head over to comicshoplocator.com and type in the numbers of the area where you are, and it will tell you where there are comic shops nearby to you. I am planning comic book vacation for a few weeks from now, which is to say I'm taking 2 days and visiting comic shops. I'm using Comic Shop Locator to figure out where. comicshoplocator.com. comicshoplocator.com. Real quick, Alfred, then reach out to us through the website still. It's going to be your best bet. And have your publisher reach out. That's going to be the other thing that will help. So, we appreciate you asking, though. Stay tuned.
Woohoo!
Yes, Triple B did. Stay tuned. Up next is Mint Hunter, followed by Kicking with Henri. It may, in fact, be the last two giveaways of our big giveaway smorgasbord that we've been doing. So
get us to 3,000. We'll give away more stuff.
Don't get us to 3,000 for like a week. Give me time to catch up.
Tomorrow.
Like there's so much paperwork to do when we do these giveaways that I literally will not have the paperwork done for 2 days once we're done.
Make Kyle work. More.
Miss
Yeah.
Jen, we're still not going to give it away for at least a month, even if we get to 3,000, because I control the string.
Oh, he has the power.
I do. But the more people we get, I will say this, the higher the number gets, because we're getting closer to the number, we have a bunch of content in the bag that we're waiting to drop to you guys until we get to our next goal. We're getting very, very, very close. So if we can get to that next benchmark, we've got new content coming for you. So make sure you're hitting that share button, hitting that like button, hitting that subscribe button. Again, Alfred, I appreciate you reaching out. Reach out through the website and we'll get back to you. We'll get you where you need to go. And everybody, stay tuned for everything else. We'll see everybody next time.